101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the founder and CEO of Prelude Early Learning, no other than Miss Emily Cadiz.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Miss Emily, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. My name is Emily Cadiz. I'm the founder and CEO of Prelude Early Learning. We are a blended early literacy solutions company, and we primarily focus on getting children ready to learn to read between the ages of 3 and 6. We focus primarily on all of the foundational skills that children need for reading. So that would be listening, phonological awareness, phonemic awareness. And we use music as the vehicle to really support brain development during this time because it is a more effective way to get functional language developed in the brain. Um, One of the major, I would say, deficits that children are facing right now is fully functional language by the time they enter kindergarten and first grade because of the effects of passive screen time or screen time in the house. So we focus on how to balance that brain development out with using music.
Interesting indeed, Miss Emily, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And thank you so much for sharing your business as well. And today let's talk about how music unlocks early literacy for kids. What is happening neurologically in a child's brain when they engage with music that directly supports the development of reading skills such as phonemic awareness or pattern recognition?
Yeah. So music has innate qualities of really activating multiple areas of the brain at the same time. Typically, when we speak or when we read, we're leaning heavy on the right side of, or excuse me, the left side of the brain. When we incorporate tone or singing with the same activities that we would do in just with speech or with print, we activate more areas of the brain, allowing for children to develop more holistically. So, and this would probably be best explained when you have a child that maybe is a late talker or a child who is spending a lot of time in front of a screen. We don't have a lot of time to get their brains back activated just through speech or what we call interventions in the school systems. So singing during these years of 3, 4, and 5 can actually close those gaps prior to them entering kindergarten.
Okay, Miss Emily, what is the more surprising or sophisticated example of how rhythm and melody teach a complex literacy concept like syllable segmentation or sentence fluency?
Yeah. So when you're talking about how language is structured, some of the basic tenets of sound awareness or phonological awareness are going to be about, sounds that you hear at the beginning of words or words that rhyme. Sometimes you're going to hear parts of words. Music has a natural way of framing that so that you can hear sounds at different times throughout a word more slowly. Sometimes you're going to hear those rhymes emphasized through the structure of music. Music itself is very repetitive. So children will repeat songs again and again and again, practicing those rhymes and those sound formations without a lot of prompting. When it comes to written script, we're kind of we're either dependent upon an adult practicing with you, or you are really dependent upon what skills you have to break words down in script on your own. And because young children have few skills and sometimes little access to adults to read to them, music is a way for them to practice those same skills without having script in front of them and without having adults guide them through it.
Miss Emily, the synergy of senses. How does music and auditory experience uniquely strengthen the visual and cognitive pathway needed for decoding written words?
Um, so decoding words means that you're able to take parts of a word and you're able to break down the smaller pieces of that when you see a letter. For instance, when you see the word cat, there's a C and an A and a T, and you break it down slowly, cat. But for children who may not have practiced speaking enough in those years when formal language is being developed, that can be a real challenging skill to acquire. Music has a tendency to allow them to repeat those sounds in a slower pattern, oftentimes exaggerating what those sounds would look like in script, and it really helps transition the brain from just hearing whole words, or sometimes what we call co-articulation, or sounds kind of scrunched up together, and it pulls them apart so that children can uh, more successfully attach sound to each of the letters.
And how about before a child can read, they must learn to discern subtle differences in sound. How does focused musical play train a child ear for norms that are building blocks of language?
Um, because song is typically done in social settings, it's done in groups, it's done often with partners. Um, it, it really helps children's brains organize those sounds in a way that speech just doesn't really, I would say it doesn't do it as well as with song. I think I answered your question, but I didn't quite hear the entire question, sorry.
Very well said, Miss Emily. Very well said. If a parent or educator could only use three types of musical activities to boost literacy, what would they be and why are they powerful?
3 types?
Yes, please.
I would say the first one would be rhyming songs or rhyming games. Rhyme is a really, um, tricky concept for kids to get, but it is kind of the base of what we call word families. So later on when they're attaching, uh, simple, what I call CVC words, with those consonant, vowel, consonant words like cat, bat, sat, mat. If you can create games with rhyme prior to introducing those, you're going to have a better chance of them understanding the patterns. The I would say the second one that I would do is syllable work, or understanding beats in words, words that have 1 beat, 2 beats, 3 beats. You can do this through clapping the beats in music. You can find the beats in names. You can clap out the beats in different family members, or different activities or favorite foods, anything that's going to allow them to start playing with language like they would with, I don't know, Play-Doh or paint. And then I think the third one that I would do is Definitely songs that emphasize what we call the onset sound. So sounds that begin words. If you can find songs that really focus on repeating those initial sounds, whether it be an S, a T, a P, a B, you're going to see those um, sounds really get acquired in the mouth faster.
Miss Emily, if a parent or educator could only use three types of musical activities to boost literacy, what would they be, and what is the something that we need to cultivate for each children that we are cultivating?
Yeah, what was you said 3 types of what?
Three types of rhyming that boost literacy for the kids.
3 types of rhyming, like, activities?
Yes, like clapping and call and response songs,
So,
poems.
yeah, traditionally, most families, most cultures have simple rhyming songs that they can, lean on. I would say even making up silly rhyme songs would be, a good activity to do with your child. Rhyme can be tricky, and repeating rhyming words or going back and forth, having those exchanges with, what we call traditional words and nonsensical words or made up words are really important, but doing it with tone and song can make it more effective, it can make it more engaging, and it can activate more parts of the brain. Um, 3 activities, I would say one thing that I really like to do is, what we call, like, sentence frames, where you will sing a part of the song and then allow the child to insert the ending, word or the ending phrase, for a piece of like, a line of music, so that the child is practicing completing things. For instance, like "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little," and then you would add in "star." They would add in "star" or something that rhymes with "star," or something silly that has nothing to do with a star. But it's the idea of ending sentences, with a rhyming word. And then I think, and you specifically asked for 3 rhyming activities, was that what you asked for?
Yes, miss.
I would say just, nursery rhymes that you can convert into songs, poems that you could convert into songs. Those are gonna be other activities that you can do. Um, finding different activities that also have to do with rhyming words in books. If your child is able to decode some words, if they're getting to the place where they are reading, helping them find the rhyming words, oftentimes, that will be a way to engage with children that's not song-based, but it's still literacy-based.
Miss Emily, why do children seem to learn and retain new complex vocabulary words much more easily when they are set to music compared to just being spoken?
Typically in song, there is, a greater context to new vocabulary words. Songs tend to be sung in themes. Um, it's also a way for, depending on the age of the child, it's a way for children to, again, repeat those words. Language actually has to be practiced, it has to be spoken, it has to be put on the mouth and the body. It's not something that we just think about. We actually have to do it. So, with children spending a lot of time in front of screens and not actually engaging in those repetitive motions, song gives them an ability to acquire words that maybe they're not practicing in speech, but they are going to hear them through music. They're going to be able to repeat them more often than just in conversation. So that's why oftentimes they will build vocabulary words through music over just speech initially.
What advice do you have for a parent who is self conscious about their singing voice but wants to use these powerful techniques with their child?
Um, I don't want to say, get over it, but just get over it. No one really cares.
Yeah.
Especially your child. It's not a concert. If you're a teacher in a classroom and you're at circle time, I always tell teachers maybe stop doing music at circle time and do music when you're playing side by side or throughout the day or when you're lining up or transitions or what have you. But music doesn't have to be uh, an adult singing at children. It can be singing with children, and in this case, we really want children singing to us, so we sing with them with the intention of getting them to sing a little more to us. So I would not be so self-conscious and realize it's not music for music education. It's not music for performance. It's music as a vehicle to get ready to learn to read. So keep that in mind.
Yeah,
And it really does.
keep that mind, people. The emotional and developmental layer. How does the joy and low stakes nature of musical play reduce a child anxiety around getting it right, thereby creating a more fertile environment for literacy learning?
Yeah, we put a lot of emphasis on word attack and correct decoding instead of just playing with the language. We're a little more lenient with it when it comes to writing. We allow children to really play with phonetic based writing, but we struggle with that play with language um, when it comes to reading. It's a little more black or white, right or wrong. Song has a way of practicing some of the same skills that you would practice in a group setting or maybe in an instructional setting without that fear of failure. It's also really important that families have the ability, especially if they speak a different language in the home than English. It's important for families to be able to play with the English language in a safe way, where they don't feel like it's going to be right or wrong, good or bad. It's just they're just sounds. There's 44 of them that make up the English language. Um, so you have to do it in a way that doesn't feel like there is an A and an F involved in how you um, approach it. Um, Typically, we keep music siloed away in the little music education classroom. And I think that's one of the most ineffective ways of using music to communicate some of the things that we need children to be learning in a classroom. I think that pushing it back into the classroom and using it for some of these anxiety um, ridden tasks can actually reduce the overall tension. Because it goes through the right side of the brain, there's plenty of evidence that shows how it can reduce anxiety. It can override maybe children really in that fight or flight state when you're asked to do something that can be challenging. You kind of live in that what we call the lizard brain. When you sing, things loosen up, and it goes through the same areas um, where trauma can be housed, but instead of it being trauma, you're housing joy and nostalgia, and that's really one of the more powerful ways music can set a tone, but in your classroom or in your home for learning without necessarily uh, just falling into a pattern uh, of just scripted learning.
Descriptive learning indeed. And Miss Emily, as a founder and CEO of Prelude Early Learning, what are your short term and long term goals?
Our short-term goal is to get our initial product, Finnegan the Dragon, out the door into as many classrooms and homes as we possibly can. We're really proud of the work that we've done with this initial product line. It focuses on many of the things we just talked about with initial sounds that are the most common for children between the ages of 2 and 5 or 6 to be working on. It also provides parents, I would say, a more age appropriate way of approaching early literacy, where it's not so heavy handed and it's not feeling so um, mature. I mean, these are little ones and they need to be able to play with the language in a very fun, joy filled way. So that's our short term goal. Our long term goal is to expand our product line and create blended learning systems that travel with the child all the way through first and second grade, when learning still needs to be very fun and reading should be joy filled. And oftentimes we forget that at first and second grade, they're still really little and they need to be having fun.
Well, good luck to your goals, Miss Emily, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Oh, I would say, like me, starting a company,
Yes.
uh, you really have to love what it is that you're working on, especially in the space of education. Not only do you need to really understand what you're working on, the product needs to work. Ours works. We've been working with the National Institutes of Health for the past year and a half. I would say that if if you want to start a company like this, you really need to be in love with what you're doing.
Thank you for that advice, Miss Emily. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
I would say Your Brain on Music is definitely one of the more influential books that I've read recently, but I also um, am reading right now Measure What Matters by John, and I think it's Doerr. I hope I'm saying that right. Um, it's a great book. I think it's important to vary up what you're reading. Um, I'm also reading one that's a little more difficult that has really influenced me lately. It's Palestine, Peace Not Apartheid by Jimmy Carter.
Thank you for that recommended books, Miss Emily. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast. Because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in each first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Emily, if you could leave parents and educators with one message about music is not just fun, but is absolutely essential for unlocking child's literacy potential, what would it be?
I would say as often as you can, play with your child, sing with your child, but also, if possible, reduce the screen time.
Yes. Reduce people and make sure that you sing together. Miss Emily Cadiz, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering business like this to come. So, Miss Emily, can you please invite our listeners to support your business itself?
Yes, you can find us at preludeearlylearning.com. You can also find our initial product at finneganthedragon.com. So please reach out today and try us on a 14-day free trial. And yeah, we look forward to sharing in your early literacy journey.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Emily Cadiz because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering kids will arise. So, Miss Emily, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. Have a great evening.
More to come, people. See you soon. So, Miss